What if Apple's biggest failure quietly became the reason your iPhone runs AI at all? For nearly a decade, Apple poured billions into a self-driving car. It collapsed. No car ever shipped. But here's the uncomfortable truth almost nobody said out loud when the project died. That dead car may be the single most important thing Apple ever built. And you're holding the proof in your pocket right now. Why does this matter now? Because AI on your phone just became the whole game. Apple, Google, Samsung, Qualcomm, every one of them is racing to run AI directly on your device instead of the cloud. Apple looks weirdly far ahead on the hardware, and the reason traces back to a project everyone wrote off as a disaster, but the part most people miss is still coming. So let's start with what actually happened. Apple's car program, internally called Project Titan, ran from around 2014 to early 2024. According to The Verge and reporting from Mark Gurman, the company burned through an estimated $10 billion and never shipped a single vehicle. By any normal measure, that's a catastrophic waste. Executives left. Teams got reshuffled. The whole thing became a punchline. But here's what that story misses. Early on, Apple's engineers realized a self-driving car needs to make life or death decisions in milliseconds. You cannot send that to a data center and wait. The processing has to happen inside the vehicle instantly with no internet. So Apple started designing chips built for exactly that. Heavy AI computation running locally, on device in real time. That requirement changed everything about how Apple thought about silicon. Quick one, if this is useful, a like genuinely helps more people find it because the skills a team builds don't vanish when a project dies. They migrate, and what comes next is the part that actually matters. Now think about what the car actually demanded. A self-driving system has to see the road, identify pedestrians, predict what other cars will do, and react all at once, all without lag. That's not a normal computing problem. That's a neural network problem, running at massive scale on a power budget that won't melt the hardware or drain the battery. So Apple's chip teams spent years solving a very specific challenge. How do you run enormous AI models efficiently on a device using as little power as possible? That is the exact same problem your iPhone faces today. Face ID scanning your face, your camera separating you from the background, live text pulling words out of a photo, Siri processing requests without a signal. Here's the villain of the standard narrative. The idea that Titan was pure failure. $10 billion flushed away. That framing is lazy because the engineers who spent years figuring out how to squeeze real-time AI out of a low-power chip didn't get erased. When the car died, they and their expertise flowed straight into Apple's core silicon group. The one that builds the A series and M series chips inside every iPhone and Mac. And who benefits? You do, actually. Every time your phone does something clever without touching the internet, you're using capability that got sharpened by a car that never existed. The neural engine, the dedicated AI section of Apple's chips, has grown more powerful every single year. That relentless push looks a lot less random when you know engineers were originally trying to make a car drive itself. Who's caught in the middle? Apple's competitors. Qualcomm and Google are scrambling to catch up on-device AI right now, in 2024 and 2025, as the whole industry pivots to running models locally for privacy and speed. Apple got a multi-year head start, paid for by a project the press called a humiliation. The most important part is the one I saved for last. So here's the payoff. The most valuable thing Apple built during the car years wasn't a chip design or a patent. It was a mindset. The car forced Apple to treat AI as a hardware problem first, not a software afterthought. While competitors bolted AI features onto existing chips, Apple's people had already been architecting silicon around AI from the ground up because a car has no choice. That's the twist. Apple didn't lose $10 billion. It spent $10 billion learning how to build the AI hardware that now sits at the center of its entire future. The car was the tuition. Here's my prediction. Apple Intelligence and everything Apple ships in AI over the next 3 years will run more on device than any rival. And Apple will quietly lean on that as its privacy advantage. The failed car becomes the foundation of Apple's AI story, even though Apple will never say so out loud. Failure that expensive doesn't stay failure. It gets repurposed. Before I go, here is your tech tip of the day. If you want to see how hard your own device is working on AI and background tasks, most people never check the right tool. On a Mac, open Activity Monitor, then switch to the Window menu and open GPU History plus the CPU History window. Now run something heavy, a video export, a local AI model, a big photo edit, and watch which cores light up. On Apple Silicon, you'll actually see the efficiency cores and performance cores split the work in real time. Why it's useful? It tells you instantly whether an app is offloading to the GPU and neural engine or hammering your CPU inefficiently, which is the difference between a task that drains your battery and one that barely touches it. That is your tip for today. If that story about a $10 billion failure becoming Apple's AI backbone rewired how you think about failure, sit with that for a second. The next breakthrough in your pocket might be the wreckage of something else. Want more like this? Subscribe to FutureEdge, a fresh one daily.